Welcome to video 2 of your wealth threshold. Today we're going to be talking about some of the beliefs and stories that keep you in your wealth threshold and how to start shifting some of them. I want to generally talk about lack for a moment and struggle. We are taught, many of us, not all of us, but many of us are taught, and I would say if you're jumping into this course, then probably you're one of these people, that there's a lack, and to get what you need, there is struggle and hardship of some kind. The truth is, there isn't a lack. I think we all know there's not a lack of money. There is a significant variance in distribution. There is no lack of money. And there's also no lack of love. And those things can get intertwined sometimes. A lot of times the relationship and money wound come from the same place. And it's this place of like giving to be useful, productive, survive in society. And at some point, we little youngster mammals go from being unconditionally loved, whether it was by the universe before we came in, or in utero, or in infancy, or toddlership, or wherever, unconditionally loved, to now, what part are you playing? What service are you providing? What productivity are you participating in to give to the rest of the tribe, family, world, etc.? And now your worth is based on that. And that sucks to be articulate about it. It just really sucks. And I want to share a story. I went to Antelope Canyon last year, 2024, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place at the Arizona-Utah border. I was walking with my dog and I was barefoot in this soft, soft, soft sand and these beautiful red, look it up on the internet if you don't know what it looks like, these beautiful red walls of stone. And I was having a conversation with the earth and the mother. And my takeaway from it was, in nature, we are everything in nature. We are all naturally part of the exchange of life. It is innate in us. It is not quantified. Your value as a being is not based on your contribution. In our society, that's what we've created. So we have billions of people who show up into the world with generation upon generation that has said, that has passed along, like, your contribution to the world speaks directly to your value as a being. There are limited resources, and you need to work your butt off to be valued. That construct is false. It's a construct. So that's why we have this threshold. That's what we're doing here. And there's this association with like struggle and receiving, struggle to receive, struggle to receive, struggle to receive. And that can be in love, and that can be in money. It can be with any type of receiving, but those are like the big ones that we want to receive, most of us, love and money. We're myth busting these stories that were passed down to us. No shade on our ancestors, no shade on our lineage. Like, there's a reason that we're in these situations. There's a reason that it made sense for generations before us but it just doesn't make sense anymore. Most people can see it. Most people can see, like, okay, this story just isn't true for everybody. This idea that I have to work harder to get what I want, like, I see people who are working less and getting more. So we want to rewrite these stories, but to do that, we want to identify the stories. And I have a list today of some of the stories that you may have heard growing up that may have been passed down to you. And I want you to feel how they land. So if you have a neutral response to them, cool, that's not one of your stories. You might have a charged response if it's one of your stories, and you might have um, like a numbing out or a distracted or disconnected response, and then that's really one of your stories. Usually the charged ones are more at the surface, ready to be cleared and cleaned, and then the other ones are deeper and they're like hiding out. If you've carried these stories down, you may notice that either you believe them or you're worried about somebody else believing them about you. So either way, they will stop you in your tracks as you're trying to shift your threshold. So I'm going to say the name of the story, and I want you to notice how it feels. And if you feel a charge or if you feel that distraction thing happening, ask yourself, is this something I believe or is it something I'm worried somebody else is going to believe about me? Story number 1, money doesn't grow on trees. Story number 2, rich people are greedy or bad. Number 3, you have to work hard for everything. Number 4, money is the root of all evil. Number 5, we can't afford that. Number 6, money isn't everything. Number 7, stay in your place. Number 8, you'll never be as rich as someone else, fill in the blank. Number 9, the wealthy are lucky. Number 10, save, save, save. So all of these can create, well, all of these are limiting beliefs, and they can create limiting beliefs in you. I'm going to add a couple here to the list I created. You have to be in dire straits before you ask for help. And if you are a person of service in the service industry, then you might have a belief relating to giving. I'm here to serve, I'm here to serve, I'm here to serve, and not know how to receive. The helper doesn't know how to be helped. So, what to do about these stories? I'm going to give you my favorite and famous story rewrite. So number one, grab a paper and pen, write this down. What is your story? If any of those landed for you, then you can consider that your story. If you notice any other stories coming up in your mind related to money that cause you to be in limitation, capture those. So what is a story? Number one. Number two is, I like to call it float your story. This is where, so when we overly identify with things, that's when they have power over us. So floating your story is helping it be separate, helping it be more objective, taking it out of the identification and into its own vessel. I like watching my hands do that. So you're going to float the story, and you're going to do this by questioning it. And you can come up with a lot of different ways of questioning it. You can also play with telling the story this sounds silly, but it's very effective, telling the story in different voices or different archetypes. And also, if you know anyone who is living in direct contradiction to the story, that's a really good way to separate it from your identity. Like, I know people who work in their zone of genius all the time, and the less they work, the more money they make. So, float the story. And when I say question it, you can question it from all different angles. And then a really good question is, what would it be like if the opposite were true? What would it be like without this story? What would it be like if the less I worked, the more money I made? What would it be like if the less I harped on my family about their chores, the more they supported me with my party planning or whatever, you know? So if you're imagining wanting to be spoiled by life, what would it be like contradicting the story to have like the spoiling experience? So those are options for floating the story. Number three, what feeling is under the story? So you might want to sink down into your body and say the story again to yourself now that you've floated it a little bit, now that it's not as intense or believable or real. What emotion, what does it feel like under the story? So the story that you have to work really hard to make money or be a contributor to society, like what do you feel under that? Do you feel dread? Do you feel regret? Do you feel anger? Do you feel sadness? Do you feel remorse? Do you feel grief? Do you feel like your soul wants to die? Like they're just, like there can be a lot under there. And you'll pause this video to go there. Be gentle with it. And once you feel what's under that story, the final question is, and it may go along with number three. Number four is, what is that story protecting you from? What is that story protecting you from? So if you have a story about having to work really hard to contribute to society and make money, and underneath that story in step three, you feel a lot of anger, then number four, what is that story protecting you from? And maybe the answer is isolation. Maybe holding that story has kept you related to all of the people that you love because that's their story. So that story has kept you from isolation. That story has kept you from having to take ownership in a big way of things that you really want to be doing in life. If you don't come out of that story, then you get to be a victim. You get to give your power away. And trust me, we're all addicted to that. So those are the 4 steps. Name your story, fill out your story, feel what's under your story, and then ask yourself what your story is protecting you from. I went through them quickly, but take your time answering those questions, and you're gonna be changing your limiting beliefs in no time.